Hey bookwormies, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to a new video. And in this video, I'm going to be giving you guys some book recommendations because I know how hard it is to find a book that you want to read. And I have many books I have loved over the time. I have many here in this list, some romances, some fantasies, I think like one thriller series, and most of these are series, but some of them are like standalones, but yeah. So let's get started. First of all, let's start with the book that blew up on the internet. And when I mean blew up, I mean craziness. And it fully went crazy. So that in that series, if you don't know, is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. And I love that book. First of all, it's a fantasy. So if you guys are not a fantasy person, I still recommend you try it. But if you really know you hate fantasy, you're not going to like this, steer away, clear it from it. It's a fantasy. It starts with many things going on. Like, you need to get used to because there are many characters, many people. It's hard, but I loved it. First of all, it was dragons. First of all, guys, hold up. Before you say, oh my god, I hate dragons, hear about it. Even if it's a fantasy and I like fantasy, I don't like dragons. Hold up there. These are amazing. These dragons are just amazing. And don't just hold it back just because it has dragons in it. But this is like an extra plus. It is romance. It has some romance, but it's really nice, super sweet, super good. I really love the plot. Amazing. There are currently right now 2 books at this point of time. Right now, when I'm filming this, and when it comes out, this video comes out, it's also only 2 books. But this series is planning on being 5 books. So we are not done yet. We have some time, so it's going to be a pretty good, not too long, but not too short series. So we can really get into it, which is really nice. Next, we have Percy Jackson, like the whole world of the Greek mythology by Rick Riordan, honestly. So Percy Jackson and the Olympiads, the Heroes of Olympus, and the Trials of Apollo. Those 3 series. Each series is like 5 books. You have quite a lot to catch up on, but it's so good. First of all, it's Greek mythology, like I said at the start. You might be like, Greek mythology? But it's fun. It's like an easy mythology. It's not like they teach you, really. Well, you do learn stuff. Like, if you ever have Greek mythology in your school, and you've read already all the Greek mythology series by Rick Riordan, you guys are going to be on the head of your class, probably. But it's amazing, and I just feel like it's really cool, and it's not like heavy, a lot of stuff. It's really simple, fantasy kind of types with demigods. Super cool, super nice. I like the plot. There isn't really much romance. If you guys are a romantic kind of girly, don't go into this. Well, you can go into this, of course, but like, don't expect it to have a lot of romance, because it has like a teeny bit. So it has like a sprinkle on it on top, but it's still really good. Next, this is kind of something probably everybody's heard of. It's kind of like classic in the world of dystopian and everything, and that is the Hunger Games. And guys, you guys have probably heard of it at least once in your life. I read it. They're legitimately just 3 books and a prequel. But the prequel one, this is not part of it. But the first 3 books are just amazing. The first book just starts out, but it's really good. I like the sprinkle of romance there, the funny stuff. The characters are really well developed, so it's really nice to see them. Then the second book, it continues with it, and it's just really nice. The second book really just brings it in because you already know the characters. They just chop you right in, bring a few new ones. Amazing. Just love the idea of the Hunger Games with the games that these kids have to go into. It's super cool, and it's just amazing. I loved it. Then there's, of course, the 3rd book, which kind of wraps it all up. But the ending, crazy. I was just like, wait, what? What's going on? It was amazing. Then there's a prequel. I'll talk about it now. But it's about a different character. It's not the same. It's not Katniss that you talk about. It's about Coriolanus Snow. If you know who Coriolanus Snow from the first 3 books, you're gonna know who the hell that guy is, because he appears a bit in the original trilogy. But I less like this book, but it was still really good. So I recommend you guys read this. This is like a trilogy plus a pretty cool, nice little kick-in, and it's really fun. A lot of plot, but it's really good. Not a lot of romance though. So if you like heavy romance, not for you. But anyways, next book. This is technically kind of like a middle grade kind of book series, but I really enjoy it. It's really nice and simple, and it's fun to just read just if you don't want something too crazy. But it has a lot of characters, a lot of plot, especially coming. This is the Keeper of the Lost City series, if you don't know, with Shannon Messenger, and this is a long series. It's like 10 books, and like it's like only 9 books, and then there's like a half kind of book, which is different. But the 10th actual book is still not out even, so there's one more book left in the series. But it's really nice, though. When you come towards the end of the series, there's many characters, and when I mean many, I mean like I can write you a whole list of 200 characters that are in this series. But it's amazing. I love it. It's like magical. It's a fantasy, of course. It's magic. Cool stuff, powers, everything like those stuff. If you like that kind of stuff, I'd go for that. There isn't really romance. There are like, oh, I have a crush on this guy, but she only gets together with the guy. Like in the latest book that has come out right now, which is the 9th book, but the Stellar Loon. But still, it's really good. I love the series, so I recommend you guys read it. Next, this is a book that has been talked about from time to time, and I really enjoy it. It's a duology. It's only 2 books, not much, but it's really nice, and I feel like it's really easy to go through. And that is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I love this. This was so sweet, so nice. Love the romance, loved the characters, loved the plot and the idea with the war. Just amazing. Though I wish there was another book, like a prequel, talking about like the war more, like and less about the romance. But this is more like a romance with a hint of everything else. Many people say, oh my god, I don't like the war part of these duology, but I personally loved it. It was really nice, and it adds to the romance, so then it's just not only romance, and it's so sweet. So amazing. I loved it. There's like a magical element to it, which is really sweet, if you know what I mean by it. I loved it. I really recommend you guys read it. Anyways, next we have a cute little romance, a sweet little one. It is a though it is a standalone, so it's just alone. So if you're looking for something sweet, cute, fast, nice, read it. This is, and I'm talking about The Summer of Broken Rules. I enjoyed this. This was really nice. Many characters though. Like I just started the book and then I was like, wait, who's that? And at the start of in the book, there is like a tree, a family tree with all the characters. So I was going back to that first page and I was like, I think I might need like that family tree imprinted into my brain or something. I cannot remember it, but after a few chapters, you get used to it. You know who they are. You know who that is, who this is, whatever. Super cool. Love the romance. It was so sweet. Love the banter. It was just amazing. I loved it. Next is a series that is also kind of known throughout BookTube and BookTalk, and I am currently in the middle of reading it, and it's amazing. And it is Shattery series. I love it. It's so sweet. But if you guys don't like the emotional trauma that the girl has, don't read it. But unless if you like that, it's amazing. There is a magical element to it, which is amazing. But it's not really fantasy. It's more like dystopian with a hint of fantasy. Really sweet, amazing. It's also romance. So love that element. It's so cute. I love it, and just the characters, the plot, the idea, and how everything comes is amazing. And then there are like novellas between a few books to like give you a different point of view of what just happened, but in somebody else's point of view, which is really sweet. I loved it. Next we have the Caraval trilogy, which are 3 books. They are really nice. I really enjoyed it, but I don't remember much since I read it a long time ago. But it is a fantasy. It has a pretty big magical element because it's about like this carnival in a way. Super sweet. The first book was my least favorite. A lot of people have this, like this. The first book, 3 stars. The second book, 4 stars. and the third book 5 stars. So many people don't really enjoy the first books. The last one was their favorite. I kind of agree. But it was really sweet. I really liked at the start of the first book, you see these letters, which are really nice. And I just really loved it. So, but if you don't like the first book, try to continue it if you can. Unless if you just really, really hated it and it's just not your style. But I really recommend you try it. And it has a romance element, which is nice. Next, we have another trilogy by the same exact author, which is Once Upon a Broken Heart. One character has appeared also in the Caraval trilogy, so you kind of see him back. And I recommend you guys read the Caraval trilogy before this one. But this is the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. It's so sweet. The third book actually came out in 2023 at the end. It was so sweet. I loved it. It was so nice. I love the characters, love the plot, love the romance. It was so nice. It was really good, but of course there are a few times when I was a bit confused. I was like, what? But it was really good. Next we have Powerless. And this kind of has blown up in a few places, known as the Hunger Game Vibes book. There is going to be a second book called Reckless coming out later on this year, I think. I'm not sure when exactly, but it's coming out. And I really enjoyed this mostly because of the element of Hunger Game vibes, and I see where it comes from, and it's really enjoyable, really nice, and it has a romance element, of course, but the Hunger Game vibes, just so you know, is not really high level. It's kind of like a sprinkle of it. It's kind of like the skeleton, the body form of the story. Next we have another series that has been known around everywhere. If you haven't heard of this series, where have you been? And I've only read the first book, but I think you guys would also love the rest because of everything I've heard about it. And that is ACOTAR, the Court of Thorns and Roses series. I read the first book. It was so sweet. They say that over through the books, the romance level increases and it kind of gets higher, which is why I'm not reading the rest, but I might read later. But it also has a fantasy element, but the biggest way of how it is marketed is as a romance series. But it's really sweet. I loved it, and I think you guys would love it too, especially if you like these fantasy elements and romance. If you like romance, that's where you go. So yes, I'll direct you right to it. You go right down that hall and into the book lane. Next, I have this trilogy that many times people say, oh my god, it's so good, and sometimes people say don't like it. Mostly they don't like the first book, but this is a trilogy called the Prison Healer trilogy. I personally loved it. I read the first book in one sitting, second book in one sitting, and third book in one sitting, all in one sitting, and it was just amazing. I just loved it. It was so sweet. The first book, they say like nothing really happens, and in a way it's true, but I don't know why, even with not many happening, but with the ending and everything going on, I enjoyed it. So it was really sweet, and it's about this girl named Kiva. It has like a fantasy element with some romance on the side, and it's really sweet, and every book ends in a cliffhanger, which just brings me to think, oh my god, I need the next book. Oh my god, I need the next. I need the next. I need the next. And I just never feel satisfied. And when I finished the third book, I was like, are you sure there's no more? Because yes, it ended perfectly. It closed off really nicely, but I just really needed another one with those characters. I loved Tip. I loved Jaren. I loved all of them. They were so sweet. I recommend you guys read it. Next, we have another cute little romance. This is actually the book that got me into romance at the first, and that is The 7-Year Slip. It was sweet. It was so amazing. How do I start this without just melting into a bottle of goop? And it's because it's so sweet. I love the romance. I love the idea with the 7-year slip, if you know what I mean. And it's just so sweet. I love the character. I love the man. Loved him. The girl was just amazing. I love the aunt perspective of it, which was so good. And I loved how it was. It was just amazing. I gotta say, it was amazing. Next, we have another series. which is kind of a fantasy series with a bit of romance, but I haven't really seen much romance yet. Well, actually I did, but a bit. And this is the Swollen Kingdom trilogy by Tahira Mafi. It's the same series as the Shatter Me. I mean, it's like the same author as the Shatter Me series author. And it's really nice. It's not the same as the Shatter Me. It's like a totally kind of different idea. There is some fantasy elements to it, and it's really good. And it has like a rival kind of thing, if you know what I mean. And I really enjoyed it. I finished the first book, and I have the second book, and I'm so excited to read it. I'm probably gonna read it soon, and I'm gonna love it too. But I just recommend you guys read it. It has a fantasy level with a bit of romance. That's all I'm gonna say. Next we have another standalone romance, and that is Better Than the Movies. And many people have heard of this probably, and many people have read it. I actually have a friend right now that's currently reading it. If you've seen this video, then you know. But I love this book. It was so sweet. I love Liv, and I loved Wes. It's kind of like, in a way, enemies to lovers, but not exactly. But this is not the whole marketing to it. It's kind of like a small part. I don't really think that it's exactly full enemies to lovers, but it's super sweet still, and I loved it. I love the parents and how they just knew, and I just enjoyed it so much. Loved the family aspect, loved the friend aspect, loved everything about it. But there was a bit of feeling that I wanted to strangle the main character because of how oblivious she was. But it was super sweet. I really recommend you guys read it. Okay, next we have this series. It's called Entangled with Fae. And each book, you don't have to read these books in order. You can read them in any order. And they're kind of like fairy tale retellings. Super sweet, and there are romance more in this. There's like a Cinderella retelling, there's Beauty and the Beast retelling, there's the Little Mermaid retelling, and two others. Oh, and Sleeping Beauty retelling, and then another one. And it was really nice. Some books I liked more than others, but they were really nice. And sometimes you could see, like, if you read them in order, because I read them in order still, but you don't have to, you can sometimes see in like the epilogue, like after, you can see the characters from the book before come into that book and like interact a bit, but not always, but just a bit. But it's really cool, and I really enjoyed it. Next we have Shadow and Bone trilogy by Leigh Bardugo, and there's actually a big debate between if Shadow and Bone trilogy is better or the Six of Crows duology is better. I am planning on rereading both of them to see, but right now I'm like in the Shadow and Bone more. But they're really nice. They are kind of like a fantasy with some romance, and they're really good. I really enjoyed the plot, and the characters were really nice, but I don't like with who she ended with at the end. And I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion or it's everyone. But like both me and my friend Buddy read this like at the same time, and we both hated who she ended up with. If you've read it, tell me down below in the comments if you also feel like who the main character ended up with was just not it. But yes. Next, we have the Dark Art. Okay, these three series are like kind of interconnected. The Dark Artifices, the Infernal Devices, and the Mortal Instruments. They're all in the Shadowhunter world, and I read all of them. I love them. The Mortal Instruments is a 6-book series. The Infernal Devices, I think, are a trilogy, and the Dark Artifices too, but you'd have to check to make sure. I started with the Mortal Instruments, which I think is the way to start, and I really enjoyed it. There is like a magical aspect. It's mostly like fighting and stuff, and to do with like demons and underworlders and all that stuff. And it's really cool. I love the characters. I love the plot idea, and the romance was also really good. So I really recommend you guys read it. Next we have the one and only thriller that I really read. Well, I have read one other one, but it hasn't really gotten into the high top that I feel like you guys should read it. But you can read it if you want to. But this one is different. This is a series that's kind of like it's called The Naturals. It's a series of, I think, 4 or 5 books. I read almost all of them except for the last one. I haven't really gotten to it yet, but I really enjoyed it, and it's kind of like the FBI with like criminal mind children, and they're trying to solve like these cold cases. If you don't know what they are, cold cases are kind of like cases where they're kind of like not ongoing. It's kind of like this guy killed many people, but they just don't know who it is, and it hasn't really happened in a long time, so they kind of bunched it up and put it aside, and that's called a cold case. And so these criminal minds children are working with the FBI and are trying to solve these cold cases, and it's super cool, and the endings for many of them are just amazing, and I love how they connected the cold cases to something else, which I'm not going to say to spoil anything for you guys, but I enjoyed it so much, and it was amazing. Okay, now I'm currently in the middle of the book. I don't know if I'm going to love it, but I have a feeling I am, and it's called Court of Winter by Krista Street, and I really am enjoying it right now. It is a fantasy with a romance aspect, super cool, and I'm really enjoying it right now. And I don't have much more to say because I haven't finished it yet, but I think you guys would like it, so it's also a book recommendation. And this book recommendation video has come to an end. I hope you guys found some books that you might like to read, and I'll see you guys in the next video.